there will be nothing that is so impactful. I just can't, what else can you possibly do in your life that would be as impactful as taking this gift that God has given you and pouring your all into it, giving it all that you had before you then send them out into the world.
Welcome to Chia's California Homeschool Podcast. I'm Angela Lash, and in today's episode, Grace for the Journey, a veteran homeschooler's perspective on private Christian home education, I'm joined by an incredible guest who embodies the heart of faithful homeschooling, Vicki Stormoen, a veteran homeschooler with over 30 years of experience who has successfully guided 8 children through their educational journey, with one still on the path to graduate. She's principal of Heritage Christian School, part of Chia's support network, and she is just passionate about raising children through home education. Today, Vicki is going to share about her homeschool journey and especially talking about the high school years. So whether you're just beginning or you need some fresh encouragement, this conversation is going to help you remember the powerful truth that with God's help, you can truly do this. Vicki Stormoen. Did I get that right, Vicki? Yes,
you did.
I had to practice the pronunciation of your last name, but we're very excited to be here today, and I just can't wait to hear what Vicki has to share with us. So, Vicki, I'm just going to let you get started. Before I get into all the questions, let's just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your homeschool background.
Well, I have been I'm finishing up my 31st year of homeschooling. My husband, Ron, and I, we have 9 children. They are currently 16 to 35, and we have 8 grandchildren. I'm still homeschooling one child. She will be a senior next year, so I'll be wrapping up my homeschool journey at the end of next year, which is just so weird to think about. When you've been doing something for 30 plus years, it's kind of weird to think, what am I going to do with myself afterwards? But anyway, that's a problem for next year. But we've been homeschooling through a PSP, Heritage Christian School down in San Diego. We're in San Diego, and I've been working at the PSP now for the last 5 years as the principal. Very involved and engaged in the homeschool community, and absolutely love it.
That's amazing. That is just such an amazing testimony and a legacy that you are leaving for your children and your grandchildren. But I know everybody probably wants to hear, how did this all begin? How did you get started? What initially led you to choose homeschooling back in, what was that, 1994?
94 was our first year. Yeah. Wow. Good. You did the math really fast there. Yeah, we started in 94, and it really was probably the year before that we really started talking about what we're going to do educationally. Did not start out thinking, we're going to be diehard homeschoolers. We were just more talking about what were the goals that we had for our family, and how did we want to raise our children, and what did we want our family dynamic to look like. And for us, a lot of that had to do with, we wanted our kids to grow up in an intentional, distinctively Christian household. We wanted them to learn how to think God's thoughts after him, to learn how to think and live the way God wants them to think and live, not the way the secular society wants them to think and live. And so once we were able to really articulate our goals for our kids and what we wanted to be as parents and the influence we wanted to have in their lives, we looked at our 3 basic options: public school or private school or homeschooling. And it just became obvious that the only real way to achieve the goals that we had for our family was through private homeschooling, because that was the only choice really that gave us the time, the resources, and the environment that we needed to achieve our goals.
So when you first decided this is it, what kind of reaction did you get from your family and friends?
From family, it was mixed. A lot of my family were supportive, very excited and supportive and totally on board, and very excited that we'd made this choice. There was some parts of the family that were not excited about it. And especially back in the 90s, it wasn't as common as it is today. And so within our extended family, we have a lot of professors and teachers and principals, school administrators, all in the public school system. And so, we said, we're going to do this homeschooling thing. And they're like, you're going to what? So it took a while, but I will say that over the years, even they came around. I would say even the most staunch one that maybe wasn't a huge fan at the beginning, um, through the years and just seeing how it was playing out and how the kids were doing, eventually everyone came around. And then in terms of friends, all my friends were homeschooling. So that wasn't a big deal.
Well, and that must have really made it helpful that it sounds like
Yeah,
you already
very
had a
helpful.
community and had people
Yes,
to reach out to. Did you have
absolutely.
any fears about it, or were you certain that this is what you were supposed to do for your family?
I was certain that this is what I was supposed to do for my family. I was concerned about the discipline of it. I tend to be a good starter. Like I have these great ideas of let's start something, let's do something new. Um, but the day in, day out discipline of doing it, not so much. So that was a concern for both me and my husband of, if we're doing this, we're really doing it. And are you going to be as committed to this, 6 months from now? Had no idea it would be 32 years from then, but yeah, just are you going to really be doing this? It was that discipline of it that did scare me a little bit at the beginning.
But it sounds like you overcame that, or if
I
not,
did.
you've
Well, God,
it's
God,
all
God,
worked out.
God gave me what I needed to overcome it.
Now, you mentioned that one of the reasons that you even began this journey was obviously your faith was really important and instilling that into your kids. Um, but do you think that's what really guided your journey this entire time and what kept you on that path?
Absolutely, absolutely. Homeschooling is can be difficult at times. So, I mean, if you don't have something bigger than, oh, I like doing this, or oh, my friend's doing this, or oh, this is a fun curriculum, I kind of want to do this with my kid. If you don't have something bigger than that to keep you going, you're not going to keep going for 3 decades. It's just not going to happen. But when you have something bigger like that, we really saw it as we're missionaries. Like our mission field is in our living room, and our kids are our field, and so we're investing in this bigger picture, not just teaching them how to read and write, but passing on our faith and having it be a living and active faith. When you have that kind of overarching goal, it keeps you going.
Was there any scriptures that you held on to over the years?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you just kind of wish the Bible would say, "Thou shalt homeschool," it just kind of make things so much easier. But while you don't have that, you do have a lot of biblical principles actually that do talk about education, and so those overarching principles definitely were things that I clung to through the years. I mean, certainly there's the biblical concept of parents are called to teach their children. I mean, yeah, there's a whole discussion of what does that mean and what do they teach and what age is that for and who else can teach, and that's a whole separate discussion. But the idea that parents are called to teach their children something is all throughout Scripture. And then of course you have the homeschoolers banner verses. Deuteronomy 6:1-4 just has this beautiful picture of it's happening all throughout the day. In you're just seizing all these moments as they come up as you're living life together, of passing on your faith to your kids and integrating your faith into everything you do. And then, so in addition to the instructions for teaching, though, we also have biblical principles about what we're not supposed to teach and what we are supposed to teach. So, you have things like Psalm 1, don't walk in the counsel of the teaching of the ungodly. And Jeremiah 10, don't learn the ways of the nations around you. Those are all vanity. At 1 Timothy 6, don't follow after all that teaching of falsely called knowledge, like it's not even real knowledge. Don't pursue all that. Don't listen to all that teaching. And on the flip side, we have very clear scripture principles about what we are supposed to teach. We are supposed to teach true wisdom and knowledge, which can only come from God through his word. So if you have an education divorced of that, you really don't have an education from a biblical perspective. So those kind of biblical principles definitely encouraged me to keep going through all these years.
I'm sure that's going to encourage a lot of people listening. That is beautiful truth. Thank you for sharing that. Now, switching gears a little bit to the more practicality of it, the day in and the day out. I mean, you've been homeschooling a really long time, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of methods and ideas and curriculum and different things that have come along. But um, do you think that you're homeschooling the same way you did when you first started, or have you? No.
Nope.
Okay. Share a little bit about that.
So when I first started, I did what I see so many parents who are just starting out in kindergarten doing. Um, and I'm not going to say it's wrong, but it's wrong. So we have this. I'm homeschooling. I'm scared, and everyone's telling me it's weird, and I just want to make sure I cover all my bases. So with in kindergarten with our firstborn, I started her school load in kindergarten. 5 years old was Bible, math, reading, spelling, writing, social studies, science, art, piano, and gymnastics.
What, you forgot
that
foreign
was, that was
language? You didn't do foreign language too?
I didn't do foreign language. See, I was already failing. So I just think it was ridiculous. I mean, kindergarten was taking hours and hours to get through all of this stuff about learning about the mailman who brings us our mail. Like it was just sort of in hindsight, it was just so silly. And my advice now, and the way that I kind of morphed with the younger half of my kids or so, or even more than that, um, I just would have done those first K through second grade years so much differently than I did with the first couple. Really would have done, I always call it the 3 R's and a B. Like you just focus on reading, writing, arithmetic, and Bible. Bible should always be part of your homeschooling plan at every grade level. But a good phonics program in math, that was kindergarten and first grade. And depending on the kid, maybe even second grade for the majority of my kids, but not the first two. They had to bear through all my mistakes.
I can absolutely relate to that. So you're not alone. You are not alone. Did you have a particularly difficult season as a homeschooler during these past 30 years or so?
I did. And in God's gracious providence, he had it happen much later, which I'm very thankful for. So 9 kids, the first 7, with a couple exceptions, but more or less kind of learned at the same pace. And like for phonics, for example, we used the same curriculum for the first 7 kids. And by the end of that 2-year curriculum, they were all just kind of reading at the same level. And I don't know, it just all happened, and it really wasn't that challenging. Took a lot of patience, but it wasn't that challenging. And then God gave me number 8. And that was he was just a whole different from any of the other kids. So, I sat down with the normal, when we start kindergarten, and just did the same curriculum like we were doing, and was not happening. And he was just one of those kids, didn't sit at all, could not sit at all to learn. So he would literally pace my desk the entire time we would do school. And again, if I'm just so glad he was number 8, because if he was in, kind of the front half, I wouldn't have known that that's okay. You can pace the desk. We can still do school, and you can still move, and that's okay. But with reading in particular, it just wasn't happening. And so we didn't just, I kept slowing down. The beauty of homeschooling is you can slow down the curriculum, right? So we were slowing down till we weren't moving. And then finally, I just took it completely off the plate, and we just did not do phonics. We didn't do reading, did not try to teach him to read for the rest of kindergarten, all of first grade. And then by about halfway through second grade, I just started seeing some changes in him and thought, okay, well, let's try again. We're going to try a new curriculum this time that I think would work better for him because he could move things around. And then in a year and a half, he basically caught up, and by fourth grade, he was reading at grade level. But he just did it so much differently than all of my kids. It was I had to rethink everything I did with him. Everything, he had to be moving, everything had to involve movement. And then slowly working on the discipline of, because there are just sometimes you have to sit. So just slowly working on that discipline, and doing a lot of reading to him, and just figuring at some point he's going to learn how to read. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. It's just not happening when it happened for everyone else. So those couple years, just figuring out how to teach him the way he needed to be taught was brand new for me. I had never gone through that before. And it was challenging.
I think that is probably one of the best homeschool testimonies I've heard, because I know that so many people struggle with that. So many people struggle with that, especially with boys, and they just want to
Yes.
throw in the towel, or it's not working, or I'm failing, or you begin to blame yourself. I'm not doing this right. And sometimes we just have to be patient, and that's not most of our strong points. So good job,
We talk
mom.
about the beauty of homeschooling and customization and the ability to do that, but then when you have to do it, you feel like a failure. But really, it was in that moment. In hindsight, I can see it. It was in that moment of being able to just take reading off the table and just focus on his strengths. He was doing great in math, and just focus on his strengths. It was in that moment that homeschooling was working fabulously. I just, at the time, it's hard to see that.
Oh, so good. So good. So, how do you handle moments of, well, let's see, I think we already talked about self doubt, because I'm sure you probably went through some of that with him.
Yes.
But how about the famous burnout? I'm sure you've experienced some burnout over all of these years.
Probably every third quarter. It's kind of an annual thing, but I know it's coming. So over the years, I've just developed certain things that we just do in the third quarter because I know it's coming. I just want to be done. The holidays are done, and you're just not close enough to summer yet, and just kind of Death Valley for those for that third quarter. So yeah, no, there's definitely been burnout. And I have to say, this is where you really, your community, it's so important where you attach yourself. Um, Homeschooling is best done in community. So if you can find a good, solid Christian community that shares your same goals that you have for your kids, so that all of their peer group and everyone that you're doing all this homeschool stuff with is on the same page, and you're all coming at it from the same page, from the same biblical perspective, finding that community is very helpful. Um, so there was a group of us moms made every third quarter. It was just, regular coffee dates and regular times that we got together because we all knew that we were really struggling in that third quarter. Um, Trying to find a conference or convention to either sign up for, go to, or look forward to in that third, fourth quarter. That was always huge because those are always such a rejuvenating shot in the arm moment. But the other thing that really helped was every third quarter was my time that I set aside to make a plan for what was going to be the new thing for next year. So every single year of homeschooling, I always did something new. And so maybe it was just a new curriculum or a new schedule or a new sport we were going to try, a new club with our PSP that we were going to do, or just something new, something that was different. And so my third quarter was kind of my quarter to brainstorm and research and kind of get an idea for what the new thing was going to be for next year. And it's so funny. I did it for me for burnout because it just kind of made the next year. I was excited for the next year to have this new thing. Um, but I was recently talking to my oldest daughter, who's now in her 30s, and um, when I was asking her, I talked to my older kids about their experience with homeschooling and just kind of wanted to hear some of their thoughts as well. And she said one of the things that she loved was that first day of school every year, figuring out what the new thing was. So here I thought I was just doing this thing for me, and it's something that she actually looked forward to every year. Like, what's the new thing
That's
this year? And so
great.
that was helpful for me.
Now, with so many kids and all the schedules and homeschooling them all, how did you possibly find time for the rest of your life? I don't know, cleaning the house and going to the grocery store, and I'm sure you're involved in church. I know I get that question. Like, how do you do it all? How do you balance it all? How do you find time for everything?
Um, by completely redefining balancing it all.
So that's a
You
myth.
can't do it. You can't do it all. I mean, you can't do it all, at least not all at the same time. And so there is a period of time that you have to adjust your expectations. So, I mean, I have two kids living at home now, a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. My house looks radically different from what it did when I had all nine at home. When all nine were at home, the most I had in school at any time was six. So there was either some on the upper end who had already graduated out, or some that were too young to start yet. So six was the most I ever had in school at one time. Those years, we just had to adjust our expectations. Like the house just didn't look the way it looks now, but we knew that that was a season. But we were also really big on we are all in this together kind of moment. Kids were on the chore chart starting at 5 years old. By the time the girls were 13, they were not just the girls. By the time the kids turned 13, they were making dinner once a week. So I mean, there was things that we had. We used the buddy system. For those of you that have big families or have been around for a while, I'm sure you've heard of that. But we always paired an older kid with a younger kid, which was super helpful. Just like for co-op days or church, getting out the door, that child was getting that child dressed and finding the shoes and all that kind of stuff. Someone else was packing the diaper bag. I mean, we just kind of had a system. And so everyone kind of had their jobs and things that they were responsible for. And it worked. I would have been horrified if anyone would have come to the door unannounced at any particular day, whereas I wouldn't be horrified now. But it's a season. And as the kids get older, the seasons change and you can get back to having an immaculate house.
Until the grandkids come over.
Exactly. So true.
So if you could go back and give the 1995 Vicki some advice, what would you tell yourself looking back?
Woman, chill out. Like, you are doing way too much with this kindergartner. Like, I would say I would tell myself, go on more field trips, go outside more, go to the park more, go to the beach more. These are the years you can do it. I mean, yeah, as the kids get older and the school gets harder and then you get into high school, which is a whole nother thing, you kind of lose the moments to just say, okay, we're just packing up today and going to the beach. But you so can do that in that kindergarten, first grade, second grade years. I just would have done more of that and enjoyed those moments rather than being so worried about, are we covering all our bases?
No, I'm guilty too. I mean, we did the whole box curriculum and we finished every single lesson in all of the books.
Wow. Okay, well then I know how your house went.
That didn't last very long.
I know what that entails.
All right. I would love to take some time to camp out on high school because I know a lot of families, they get very excited about homeschooling the younger years and maybe even make it to 5th or 6th grade and then suddenly think everything has to change and suddenly they're not capable of homeschooling high school. But you have successfully graduated 8, correct?
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about high school for a minute. Let's see what kind of encouragement we can give. So for those parents just feeling intimidated, thinking they just can't do it, what would you say to them to let them know that they can do it?
I would go back to the idea that God didn't just give us children. He gave us specific children. Your child was specifically given to you, and that wasn't a fluke. Nor did God forget that he instructed parents to teach their children. So when he gave you this specific child, he intended for you to teach this child. And he's not going to call you to something and then not give you resources and equip you to be able to do that. And that doesn't mean that you might not need help, right? I mean, Moses, you got the wrong guy, God. I'm not the guy. And you might be thinking that as you hit high school, I'm not the right person to do this. Resources, God says, okay, here's Aaron. He's going to help you where you need the help. There are so many resources out there for homeschoolers. Homeschooling today versus homeschooling in the 90s, that's two different worlds completely. There's scripted manuals, there's online classes, there's video lessons, there's a lot of outsourcing, and now is happening within Christian communities where you can have other people helping teach your child those hard subjects. Co-ops abound. There's just so many resources. It's just in the 90s, it was valid to say, I just don't know if I can teach geometry. It's not even valid today because there's just so many other ways that you can approach checking that geometry box, even within a Christian homeschool, privately homeschooled community.
So even looking beyond academics, what about socialization in high school? How are they going to get into college? all the big ones. How do you do it?
This again, I would say this is why decisions like where you're going to camp out on your community is so important. And you need to find a good Christian community who can support you in the high school years and who can give you the is it going to be a wonderful peer experiences where there's no temptations and they don't stumble your kids at all? Like, that's not going to happen. Okay. But when you are in a homeschool community, particularly in high school, and this is one of the things I loved about homeschooling in high school, I didn't just know my kids' friends, I knew their parents. I knew the whole family. We were family friends, not just kid friends. And oh, that's Johnny's mom. Like, I know Johnny's mom. I have coffee with her every third quarter. But we were all, I mean, when you know the people that are influencing your kids, it's a game changer because when you do have issues that come up, it's no longer just you talking about it with your kid. You're talking about it as families with all the people who were involved. And it makes a huge difference. There's this little moment of time that we get when you get in high school, you're kind of on a countdown. You pretty much have 4 years left of being the primary influencer of their life. And not that your role is done at 18 or 20 or whatever, but eventually we are going to shoot the arrows out of our quiver and they're going to go off and land somewhere. And you're no longer going to be the one that's physically there. You're not going to be the one that's the go-to, who's just always there to talk to and get ideas and advice from it, and to notice when you're kind of feeling down and need someone to talk to. Like you're not there anymore. You're not seeing that. You're not the first person that they're going to go to. Why would you take yourself out of the game early? You've only got these 4 years left once you start high school, and they go very quickly. And then that moment is gone. Like if you're going to give away those hours in high school, yeah, you can give them away, but you can never get them back. They're just gone. And the time in high school is really critical. I mean, the conversations that you have with a high schooler can vary from the completely stupid and frivolous to like just really weird conversations to really intense life questions and struggles and doubt and self-image and self-worth, and then you got the whole hormone thing kicking in, and you starting to notice boys and starting to notice girls, and being the one who's there having those conversations in real time and being the primary one that's in their lives to have those conversations with, now's not the time to give that to someone else.
I wanna put that on the wall and frame it and just share it with everybody because it is so important and it is so true. Um, so thinking about all your kids, since you're almost done, what kind of extracurricular activities did they do? Were they involved in different types of?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we were very blessed with our PSP. Yeah. My kids have had every educational experience that all the neighbor kids had. I mean, the formals, the camps, the socials, the sports, basketball, volleyball, and traveling to national tournaments for these for sports, choir, drama, band, robotics. I mean, like yearbook. They had all the opportunities to be involved in all the extracurriculars that everyone else on the street had. In fact, sometimes even better opportunities where some of the neighbor kids would just say, "What? We don't have that." So no, my kids didn't miss out at all. And this again, where I got to say, find a community, I'm just going to keep harping on that because when you have a good community, it's not only a great resource for mom, but it's a great resource for the kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So looking back over high school, if you could just name one thing, what do you think is the greatest benefit of sticking with it in homeschooling high school?
The relationship you can build in those years. I have a very close relationship with my kids, and they are literally all over the world. I have one daughter living in New Zealand. So, I mean, they're literally all over the world. But the relationship I have with them, I credit in large part to the intense time that we spent together for 18 to 20 years. I didn't give away those hours, and I seized as much time and squeezed as much time as I could with them, even the difficult ones. I mean, let's face it, the high school years, there's some challenges. I could go off on a whole nother talk about that. It's another conversation for another day. But again, being the one to walk them through that and reconciling with them, going through a reconciliation process with your older teen and or adult child, because maybe they didn't leave on the best of terms and you had to walk through that reconciliation process later. It's a beautiful thing, but that relationship and the bonds that we formed, I definitely credit to the amount of time that we spent together.
Yes. And I'm going to be praying for you when you do graduate that last one, because I know how hard that's going to be, because that was me 3 years ago and I was not prepared for
Everyone keeps
the
telling me
ending.
that. Like, I'm kind of nervous. Maybe I'll fail her and keep her another year.
I still ask, are you sure you don't want me to homeschool you? Just come on. I'll homeschool college. We can do this, but no. Okay. Well, one final question, and this is in case anybody's listening right now who is just deciding if they even want to begin homeschooling. Should they do it? What encouragement would you give them?
Absolutely, you should do it. God has given you a gift of this person that you are charged to raise and teach in a way that glorifies Him. We live in a very secular society that's going to fight you every step of the way, and is going to contradict what you are teaching in your home every step of the way. And you have this 18-ish year period where you get to be the one primarily influencing and impacting their lives in this godless society that they're eventually going to go live in on their own. The best educational model out there to help you pass on your faith in an environment where they can biblically be them, learn and thrive and flourish, is in a private homeschool home. There's no downside. There really isn't. And not that it's not going to be the easiest thing you've ever done with your life. There's going to be days that you're going to be crying. You're going to have to schedule a lot of third quarter coffees. It's going to be hard. But there will be nothing that is so impactful. I just can't, what else can you possibly do in your life that would be as impactful as taking this gift that God has given you and pouring your all into it, giving it all that you had before you then send them out into the world.
Thank you so much. I know that definitely blessed somebody that's listening. I know it blessed me, and I'm done.
I'll be you next year.
And I'll meet you for coffee and help you to feel better. Okay. I'll bring the Kleenex.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Vicki, for taking the time out of your day to be on the podcast. And I'm really excited for all the families I know that are going to listen to this and just be so blessed and encouraged by what you had to share.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. And it's talking about my favorite subject. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vicki.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on Chia's California Homeschool Podcast. If this episode has encouraged you that you can homeschool high school, join us for Chia's upcoming Homeschooling High School Online Minicon on August 4th and 5th. Registration will open soon. If this podcast has blessed you, we appreciate your donations to support Chia's mission of advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ by promoting, protecting, and providing support for private Christian home education. Visit our website at www.chiaofca.org to give, learn more about our upcoming high school online minicon, or discover more about our support network. Registration for homeschool groups interested in joining our support network opens June 9th with a 10% discount for all groups who register by June 30th. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. And a special thanks to the Podcast Upload for helping create these episodes. Until next time, trust God's grace for your homeschooling journey. God bless you.
Brought to you by thepodcastupload.com, empowering faith-driven voices.